Chapter 4, Divination, Part 1. She was still in the prime of her youth. Even though she didn't have much nutritious food to eat, making her face thin and slightly pale, her skin remained lustrous as it exuded the vibes of a young girl. When Zhou Mingrui saw his sister's brown eyes look over, he forcibly composed himself and picked up an item beside his hand before calmly closing the drawer to conceal the existence of the revolver. He placed his other hand on his temple, the texture confirming that his wound had already healed. He took out a silver vine leaf pocket watch and pressed the top gently, causing its cover to flip open. It was a picture of the siblings' father. It was the most valuable item the Imperial Army sergeant left behind. But being a second-hand item, it would often malfunction from time to time in recent years, even though he had gotten a watchsmith to fix it. It had embarrassed Benson, who enjoyed bringing it with him to elevate his status many a time, so it was thrown away back at home in the end. It had to be said that perhaps Melissa did have talent in machinery. After grasping the principles behind the watch, she borrowed the tools from her technical school to fiddle with the pocket watch. Recently, she even claimed to have fixed it. Zhou Mingrui looked at the watch's open cover and saw that the second hand was not moving. Subconsciously, he twisted the top dial to wind the pocket watch. However, despite winding it a few times, he did not hear the sound of taut springs. The second hand remained motionless.
"It looks like it's broken again,"
he said as he looked at his sister while trying to find a topic of conversation. Melissa shot him an expressionless glance and briskly walked over to take the pocket watch away. She stood in her spot and pulled up the button sitting atop the pocket watch. With a few simple turns, the tick-tocking of the second hand sounded.
Isn't pulling the button up usually meant to adjust the time?
Zhou Mingrui's expression immediately turned blank. At that moment, a bell chimed from a faraway cathedral. It chimed 6 times, sounding distant and ethereal. Melissa tilted her head to listen to it and pulled the button up once again. Following that, she turned it to synchronize the time.
"Here you go. It's fixed now,"
she said simply without emotion. She then pressed the top button back and handed the pocket watch back to Zhou Mingrui. Zhou Mingrui returned a smile politely in embarrassment. Melissa gave her elder brother a piercing stare before turning to walk to the cupboard. She took her toiletries and towel before opening the door to leave. She headed for the public bathroom.
Why did her expression have a look of disparagement and resignation, like someone looking with love and concern for their mentally challenged brother?
Zhou Mingrui lowered his head and chuckled. He closed the pocket watch's cover with a click before opening it again. He repeated this action as his idle thoughts focused on a question.
Klein committed suicide without a silencer. Well, I'll consider it as suicide for now. His suicide should have caused quite a commotion, yet Melissa, who was just a wall away, did not notice it at all. Was she sleeping too soundly? Or is Klein's suicide shrouded in mystery to begin with?
The pocket watch popped open, then snapped closed. Melissa returned from washing up and saw her brother's subconscious act of constantly opening and closing the pocket watch. Her gaze was once again glazed with exasperation as she said with a sweet voice,
"Klein, take out all the remaining bread. And remember to buy fresh ones today. There's meat and peas, too. Your interview is soon. I'll make you mutton stewed with peas."
As she spoke, she moved a stove out from a corner. With some charcoal, she boiled a pot of hot water. Before the water boiled, she opened the cupboard's lowest drawer and took out what seemed like a treasure, a can of inferior tea leaves. She threw about 10 leaves into the pot and pretended that it was real tea. Melissa poured 2 big cups of tea as she shared 2 pieces of rye bread with Zhou Mingrui over tea.
There is no sawdust or excessive gluten mixed in, but it is unappetizing.
Zhou Mingrui still felt weak and was starving. He forced himself to swallow the bread with the tea while complaining inwardly. Melissa finished eating a few minutes later. After she adjusted her black hair that reached down to her vest, she looked at Zhou Mingrui and said,
"Remember to buy fresh bread. All we need is 8 pounds. The weather is hot, so the bread will easily spoil. Also, buy the mutton and peas. Don't forget to buy them."
Indeed, she was showing concern for her dull brother. She even had to repeat to emphasize it another time.
Zhou Mingrui nodded with a smile.
Okay, got it.
Regarding the low-end kingdom's pound, Zhou Mingrui matched Klein's muscle memory with his. He believed it was close to half a kilogram of what he was accustomed to. Melissa did not say anything further. She stood up and tidied the area. After packing away the last bit of bread for lunch, she put on a tattered veil cap that their mother left behind, picked up a self-sewn bag used to carry her books and stationery, and prepared to leave. It was not Sunday, so she had an entire day of classes to attend. Walking from their apartment to Tingen Technical School took about 50 minutes. There were public horse carriages that cost a penny a kilometer, with a limit of 4 pence in the city and 6 pence in the city outskirts. In order to save money, Melissa would leave ahead of time and walk to school. Moments after she opened the main door, she paused in her footsteps and turned her body halfway, saying,
Klein, don't buy too much mutton or peas. Benson might come back on Sunday. Oh, and remember, we only need 8 pounds of bread.
All right, sure thing.
Zhou Mingrui answered exasperatedly. Simultaneously, he repeated the word Sunday a few times in his head. In the northern continent, a year was similarly split into 12 months. Every year there were 365 or 366 days. A week was similarly split into 7 days. The splitting of months was a result of astronomical observations. It made Zhou Mingrui suspect whether he was in a parallel world. As for the splitting of days, it was a result of religion. This was because the northern continent had 7 orthodox gods: the eternal blazing sun, the Lord of storms, the god of knowledge and wisdom, the Evernight goddess, Earth Mother, the god of combat, and the god of steam and machinery. Watching his sister close the door and leave, Zhou Mingrui suddenly sighed. Soon, his thoughts focused on the luck enhancement ritual. Returning to his chair, he heard the faraway cathedral's bells chime again. It continued 7 times before Zhou Mingrui slowly stood up. He went up front to the cupboard and took out his clothes. A black vest with a matching suit, trousers that clung tightly to his legs, a halved top hat, and his faint scholarly air made Zhou Mingrui feel like he was watching an English drama set in the Victorian era.
I'm not going for an interview. All I'm doing is buying some ingredients.
He suddenly muttered softly as he shook his head with a wry smile. Klein was so concerned about his impending interview that it became instinct. When he was not focused enough, he habitually wore his only decent set of clothing. After taking a breath, Zhou Mingrui took off his suit and vest, switching to a brownish-yellow coat. He also changed to a felt hat with a rounded edge of the same color. With his outfit done, he walked to the side of the bed and lifted a square cushion. He reached his hand into an inconspicuous hole beneath and rummaged around before finding an intermediate layer. When he retracted his right hand, there was a roll of notes in his palm. There were about 8 notes, with faded dark green colors. These were all the savings Benson had at the moment. It even included the living expenses for the next 3 days. 2 of them were 5 solely notes, and the remaining were 1 solely notes. In the Lowen Kingdom's currency system, solely was ranked second. It originated from ancient silver coins. 1 solely was equivalent to 12 copper pence. They had denominations of 1 and 5 solely. At the top of the currency system was the gold pound. They were also paper-based, but were guaranteed by gold and pegged directly. A gold pound was equivalent to 20 solely. They had denominations of 1, 5, and 10 gold pounds. Zhou Mingrui spread a note and caught a whiff of the faint, unique ink. This was the smell of money. Perhaps a result of Klein's memory fragments or his constant desire for money, Zhou Mingrui felt like he had instantly fallen in love with these notes.
Behold, their designs are so beautiful. It makes the stern and old-fashioned George III and his 2 mustaches appear especially adorable. Behold, the watermark that can be seen when the note is placed against sunlight is so alluring. The exquisite design for the anti-counterfeit label makes it completely different from those fake fancy schlocks.
Zhou Mingrui admired it for nearly a minute before pulling out 2 one-solely notes. He then rolled up the remaining notes and stuffed them back into the cushion's concealed layer. After arranging and flattening the cloth around the hole, Zhou Mingrui folded the 2 notes he had taken out neatly and placed them into the left pocket of his brownish-yellow jacket. He separated the notes from the few pence he had in his trouser pocket. With all of this done, he placed a key into his right pocket and brought a dark brownish paper bag along with him and quickly walked toward the door. His shuffling footsteps slowed down from a brisk pace until it eventually stopped.